Virtuoso Entertainment presents
Hey yo,
Dmx.
I think y'all know who this is once again. Dropping it. Yeah. Mr. Angelino representing City of Los Angeles.
My first time here on the beach, you know what I'm saying? But I'm loving the love, man. I'm loving the love, man.
What's happening in hip hop right now? Since time was of the essence, I take heed and never disrespect it. And drop a gem and a half on each and every record. My effort too complex to try to
niggas that don't rap all the time. You need a rap ear like, nah, you know what I'm saying? Or, because you gotta bounce shit off and niggas sometimes, yo, should I flip like this, should I flip like this? And then, you know, you got niggas like, yo, I love it. He's just sitting there loving it. Not really being critical when he should be. Yeah, you know, or it needs to be, you know what I'm saying?
Nothing is free and hard work doesn't mean shit. Without the blessings of God behind it, talent is nothing anymore. Cause radio stations only play tracks they paid to play in rotations. There's limitations on the innovations of rap. I guess it's up to me to take it back. A lost angel with the power to speak the revelations and reach across the 7 seas in every nation. I feel like Jack Kevorkian in this operation, cause I'm constantly losing all of my patience. I'm sick of hearing whack beats with whack rappers spitting nonsense. What is hip hop? What does it mean to you? Yo, I swear I pledge allegiance to the raw shit and I keep it real for you.
He was born, like too many African American children, into a dysfunctional family with insufficient resources to fulfill the needs of 5 wide-eyed, unsuspecting needy girls and 1 rambunctious boy. Growing up in the projects of Baltimore, Maryland, Earl Simmons, later to become known as Darkman X, was an odds-on favorite to fail in the game of life. In the following story, you will come to know DMX as you never have before. From his humble beginnings on the mean streets of the Yonkers School projects to his incredible rise to prominence as one of the freshest and most significant voices in the world of hip-hop. DMX is the ultimate symbol of the American dream, a rags-to-riches saga of a self-admitted bad boy turned rough rider. A lover of pit bulls who rode the metaphor of a scruffy dog who claws his way under a chain-link fence in search of a bone.
He's not crazy, he's nervous. Look at his tail. Hey, check it out, homie. But this is what we is gonna get on footage. That's a cat. That is a fucking cat right there. Look at him. Look, watch what happens when I walk up to him. Watch. Yeah. Oh, he's backing up.
He ain't backing up, he's from Venice.
Hey, boy, look at him. He's backing the fuck up. He's a cat.
Dogs are sucking your dick.
It's a fucking cat. That's Lion-O.
I heard 7.
Nah, I had 30 at a time. Now I only got 5.
Why you take him down, man?
I didn't take him down. The state took him down.
State took him down?
Yeah, Jersey took like 21 of my dogs.
Is that right?
Yeah, and you know, in that time, a few of them died, Lyme disease and shit. You know, you move in I'm from the hood, dog. I'm from the fucking projects. Ain't no Lyme disease in the projects. But you fuck around and move to the hills or whatever, where there's like trees and grass and shit. You got deers coming through. Deers bring Lyme disease. You know, I learned. It cost me a few dogs, but I learned.
His story, often tragic, often ironic, is a roller coaster of ups and downs and up again. Like a champion fighter who's been knocked down only to bounce back, DMX has lost and regained his title as hip-hop's reigning champion. This is his story. Dmx, the Dark Prince of hip-hop, has never shied away from detailing the dark realities of the streets. Not so much in his music, and certainly not in his latest work, the memoir co-written by Smokey D. Fontaine. The book follows ex-born Earl Simmons during the days before and leading up to the big time. Dmx tells a no-holds-barred tale, replete with graphic descriptions of his life in the projects, on the streets, in juvenile centers, in jail, and on the run. According to Dmx, his youthful rebellion began as an adverse reaction to an absentee father and an at-her-wits-end mother. X's childhood and teen years are full of rage. His solution? To become as ruthless in his rhymes as his robberies, which he conducts, he believes, in order to survive.
That's the devil. I mean, and in order for you to avoid him, you gotta know him, because he might sneak right up on you if you don't know him. So I made it my business, not just to know the devil, but just to know where the bullshit was coming from. Because if I know where the bullshit is coming from, then I know where the right shit is coming from. You feel what I'm saying?
No doubt.
He's never concerned about being caught by the law. Being caught by the hood, however, is another matter. Dmx was born December 18, 1970, in the projects of Baltimore, Maryland. His mother had an inkling that growing up poor in one of the nation's most fierce environments would be detrimental to a young black male. So they relocated to the city of Yonkers in the state of New York. Dmx, who experimented with a number of rap names including X, Dark Man X, and settled on a combination of the two, his 5 sisters and his mother moved into a tiny apartment in the projects of Yonkers, New York. It was here that X developed a penchant, first for beatboxing, DJing, and later for rapping. As he reached his teenage years, he began to focus a lot less on rapping and beatboxing and more on survival. As a teenager, Dmx had become a seasoned and self-admitted street thug, robbing and stealing his way from one day to the next. Known as the dog on the streets of Yonkers, X recounts his teenage years. I mean, violence happens for a reason, dog. That's not defending it. But there are reasons for everything, and you can't call someone violent without looking into that. I've done some violent things, but I don't consider myself a violent person. And the truth is the truth. There's too much bullshit in life and hip-hop out there to begin with. The truth may hurt, but at the end, that's all we have. Dmx. It was the summer of 1990 that Dmx first laid down one of his rhymes on tape. Details of how the tape was forwarded to Source magazine, the nation's premier hip-hop magazine, are sketchy. But however they came by the tape, the editors were blown away by the sheer rawness of the lyrics and scruffy rhyme style of the rapper calling himself Dark Man X. Source magazine awarded Dmx the prestigious Unsigned Hype Award in the fall of 1991. His life from this point forward would never be the same.
It's to be able to watch it. I'm saying, person go from a talented boy to a talented man. Just to watch the change, the transformation, the growth. Beautiful thing, man. Beautiful thing. You know, motherfucker gotta put in years for something like that, to be able to experience something like that. It don't take, a year, no nigga, a month, a minute, 7, 8, like, okay. Change is crazy. You know what I mean?
It had been over 15 years since Dmx, his mother, and 5 sisters left the projects of Baltimore, Maryland for the projects of Yonkers, New York. The product of a single mother struggling to raise 6 children growing up in New York in the 80s were not all too promising, and Dmx had more than his share of run-ins with the law. Yet he had discovered a way to channel his pent-up frustrations and rage into art. It was that art that would lead him out of the muck and into the limelight, transforming Earl Simmons' street thug into Dmx hip-hop superstar. The road to rap stardom didn't come easy for Dmx. Following his Source magazine award as the most prolific artist not signed to a major label, Dmx began to field offers. Columbia Records was just beginning to get in on the rap craze by the 1990s. They had tasted success with groups like Criss Cross, Cypress Hill, CNC Music Factory, and had just begun to market New York natives Nasir Jones, known to the rap world as Nas, and a flashy kid from Brooklyn whose moniker stood for Ladies Love Cool J. So when Columbia offered a record deal to DMX, he was more than willing to take them up on their offer. The rap scene in the early 90s had begun to change. No longer was the gangster lifestyle and the criminal element the most popular themes among artists. The smash and dash motifs made popular by groups such as NWA and later solo projects from defectors Ice Cube and Dr. Dre had given way to rappers who by all accounts were living the good life. Flash and cash replaced smash and dash in popular rap music as the era of bling bling had begun. Rap was now mainstream. MTV and BET were telling record labels to tone it down. Out were the gruesome images of guns and violence. No one wanted to hear about how rough a rapper had it growing up, about his run-ins with the law, or what he had to do to survive. Yet Columbia had just signed a rapper whose criminal record read like an almanac of illegal activity. For DMX, the streets were all he knew, and subsequently all he wanted to rap about. He had already recorded most of what would become his first album by 1991, and executives at Columbia found themselves in a quandary. The label had just signed and released one of the hottest acts of the decade and was riding a wave of success not seen since Michael Jackson's Thriller days. Mariah Carey had just sold a whopping 10 million albums, and there was no end in sight. Columbia had the next Whitney Houston and was more than willing to focus all of their attention on the girlfriend of label head Tommy Mottola, leaving other artists, including DMX, to languish in the background. By the time DMX's first album, Born Loser, came out in 1992, it didn't stand a chance. Columbia tried to put me behind other groups. They were like, well, we're going to put out Crisscross, then we're going to put out Cypress Hill, then we're going to put you out. And I was like, I'm better than all of them. DMX. After the failure of Born Loser in 1992, DMX was at a crossroads. Broke, and finding himself facing an uncertain adulthood, he went back to the only life he had known. I was sitting in front of a building a few feet away from a bunch of young brothers who started panicking when they saw the police car coming down the street flashing its lights. That's when I saw the chain. Yeah, just what I need. I was broke, and a nice little chain could get me a few dollars. So I scooped it off the floor and put it in my sock. A few minutes later, young bucks who now know that the police are gone had their brave hood faces on again, and they walk over to me. Yo, I lost my chain. Now, lost property is always fair game, so I didn't have anything to say. Neither did my man Purcell, who had walked over to chill with me. Are you sure one of y'all niggas ain't got it? He says, but I simply ignored him and told Purcell to give me a ride home. But instead of going to Mulford, I asked him to drop me off at Slow Bomb, where I got out and sold the chain for $40. As I left the building, folks in the blocks had a warning for me. Yo, X, niggas is looking for you. They say you robbed a kid for his chain and his leather coat. What? I didn't rob nobody for no coat. They said you stuck up a 16-year-old for his herringbone and an Alvarex. An Alvarex? That was one of the nicest jackets a person could have in the hood. I didn't rob kids. So they say they're coming back around to look for you, dog. I don't care. I didn't do nothing. I'ma just sit right here and wait for him. I'ma sit right here. The boy whose chain it was must have had a lot of family, because a little while later, his father and 3 older cousins came back to Slow Bomb looking for him. I told them that I didn't do anything. I found that chain, man. I didn't rob nobody. I could even take you where I got it from. Pops didn't seem to care. My son said you robbed him. Well, it wasn't me. The only reason I'm following him back to where his son was waiting was because I knew I wasn't guilty of anything. Yeah, Dad, that's him. I had found the coat that I was wearing earlier in the day in someone's front yard. Either that was an effed up coincidence or the kid was totally lying. There was no time to explain. Before I knew it, 2 guys grabbed me from behind and the father punched me dead in my chest. I tried to release my arms, but I had no chance. He kept punching me and punching me. and soon all I could feel were his fists smashing against my nose and my eyes and my open jaw. Boom, boom, boom. I felt the blows against my face, and when I fell to the ground, that's when everyone started kicking me over and over. Heavy Timberland boots crashed against my body. I curled up to protect my ribs, but it was no use. I didn't do it. The kips kept coming harder and harder, slamming against my spine and the back of my legs. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. One guy wouldn't stop kicking me in the head. Then I heard someone say they should take me into the park, and 3 guys started dragging me up the street by my shoulders. My body was too beaten to resist, and they pulled me up the street. The mob grew. Niggas who didn't even know what happened with the chain came over to help administer the beatdown, and I realized what was going on. For all the times that I had left somebody in the alley, broke and embarrassed with their pants down and their girl watching, this was their payback. This was their chance for vengeance. They brought me to the park, and there, out of the corner of my eye, I saw one of my attackers pick up a brick. No, Lord, no. I'm not going to let him kill me. The neighborhood beatdown lands DMX in the hospital with a busted nose, broken upper jaw, and a throat so swollen he requires expensive surgery to prevent him from choking. During his rehabilitation, an opportunity arises to audition for Def Jam president Liar Cohen and A&R rep Kevin Liles. DMX's jaw is still wired shut, and his voice is so scratchy that he can hardly be understood. Despite all of this, X is determined not to let this chance slip away. I walked in the studio room alone. As soon as he saw me, the kid who was rhyming at the time turned his head and looked my way. The beat was blasting, but then it stopped and brothers got quiet. I moved into the center of the room, and the crowd of MCs that had filled almost every inch of that studio moved to the side. They parted like the Red Sea. They knew it was about to go down. Yo, throw that beat back on. First, I had to shut everyone else down. What? Do y'all niggas want war? Then I let them know who I was, and I gave them all I had. Not focusing on anyone or anything, I just said what I had to say. I called it the convo. It was a new rhyme, a dialogue I had composed between myself and the Lord. I played both parts and meant every word. Lord, no. Put down the gun and write a new rhyme. You'll get it all in due time. You'll do fine. Just have faith, 'cause you're mine. And when you shine, it's gonna be a sight to behold. I started sweating. I could feel the wires in my mouth pulling, straining to keep my jaws together. But no matter what I had been through, no matter what I had done, I had to prove that I could still rhyme better than anyone else in the world. Liar kept nodding, tapping his hand against his knee. Kevin Liles kept looking, and Wah and Darren and Gotti in disbelief. Then I kept going. You say you hunger for knowledge? Well, here it is, eat it. Another song completed. Is another thought captured? Let me do my thing. I got it locked up with this rap thing. That's it. He's the man. Liar jumped up. DMX is the man. What? Who won it? What? I looked around growling. I felt like I could rhyme forever. But they heard all they needed to hear. That night was over, and my life had just begun. DMX had embarked on a trying journey that had seen him come from the underbelly of society to the crux of hip-hop stardom. The journey wasn't over for DMX, but he was well on his way. Irv Gotti and Liar Cohen were forming a new record label. It would be called Rough Riders, and the first act signed and released would be the former DJ and beatbox wizard from Yonkers, DMX. A new contract with Def Jam Records in his pocket landed DMX in the studio with some of the hardest hitters in hip-hop. Def Jam and the Rough Riders, of which DMX would be the unofficial leader, had a totally different philosophy than Columbia Records, the label who made Mariah Carey and Criss Cross household names. The following was published on the internet at angelfire.com. The jiggy factor, an aesthetic of unapologetic flesh, fashion, and glamour that ruled everything around us and made hip-hop life nice and organized. Of course, for each movement, there always seems to be a counter-movement For each yin, there is a yang, and for each designer label, clad champagne sipper, there must be an uncompromising figure lurking in the shadows, ready and willing to reclaim rap from the penthouse to the pavement. Embracing this return to the anarchy, enraged and raw, Def Jam Records presents 1998 as the year of pandemonium. The human embodiment of such exhilarating and unadulterated chaos exists in none other than Rough Riders Def Jam's very latest lyrical sensation, DMX. Angelfire.com. LL Cool J's 4321 was a coming out party for DMX. His rough lyrics and scruffy delivery more than held their own with the veteran rapper from Brooklyn. X followed that appearance with a guest spot on rapper Mace's single 24 Hours to Live. He was also heard on label mate Mike Geronimo's track Usual Suspects. DMX grew up running with a group of Yonkers teens that would later become collaborators and members of the Rough Rider and later Puffy Combs' Bad Boy family. His guest appearance on the Lox' Money, Power, and Respect would be the track that would solidify his title as the gruffiest voiced MC to grace the mic since the group Onyx made the style popular years before. In fact, it was his appearance on a track entitled Shut 'Em Down by Onyx that would be the last we would hear of DMX before the release of his own much anticipated first album. I love to write rhymes. I love to express what real niggas feel, what street niggas feel. They need to be heard. They need to know that there is a voice that speaks for them, and I am that voice, DMX. DMX is reflective about a time when he admits the rap world wasn't ready for his brand of reality. I always knew there would be a point when someone would say, somebody needs to make money off this nigga because he's hot. That's when Irv Gotti brought me to Lyre Cohen and Def Jam. I guess it's that point now. I guess the world wasn't ready for the gutter until now. Now they ready for the gutter shit. So now they gonna get the fucking gutter. DMX. With some major exposure behind him in the form of guest appearances on a number of popular albums, it was time to head into the studio to begin work on what would be the second coming of DMX. For his first album ever under the Def Jam label, DMX would tap his fellow Yonkers School Projects running buddies, the Lox, to produce and collaborate on what would become, at the time, one of the most explosive releases for a first-time solo artist in the history of rap music. The album was entitled It's Dark and Hell is Hot. The reviews were sterling, a sampling. A startling debut, It's Dark and Hell is Hot capitulated DMX to instantaneous icon status. It quickly becomes evident that DMX's most impressive talent is his dramatic stance as the ideological zenith of urban manhood. DMX's rousing lyrics, aggressive persona, and sincere delivery are all dazzling. DMX is at his peak here, introducing his character with fiery power and succinctly showcasing one of rap's most well-crafted personas ever. Jason Bickmeyer, AllMusic Guide. The breakout single on DMX's sterling debut was a rugged, fast-paced metaphoric rhyme entitled Get At Me Dog. The single received heavy rotation on urban radio and rested in the #1 slot on Billboard's Maxi Singles charts for a whopping 10 weeks. The single was certified gold within 2 months of its release.
You know, the only inspiration I got is this man here. You know what I'm saying? You know, he's the one that got me knocking out 3 songs in one night. You know what I'm saying? Cause it's like no lie, I witnessed his first album, which you know, like Damien and all that. I witnessed that, not just heard it. I witnessed that.
There for the writing, there for the building up.
Like, you know what I'm saying? You know, like actually being created, like in an hour and a half.
Yo, we did it. We had one house. Like
he was at the table. He was at the table
and we was all
with
in
the
that
radio
house.
and all that. You know what I'm saying?
We had a box and like 2 CDs with beats, and they was just in there banging them out.
Banging them out in Maryland too.
And I think what helped is because, you know what I'm saying, I had brothers like this here, there with me, you know what I'm saying?
Another reviewer wrote, DMX is one of hip-hop's most promising newcomers. He's shown up on damn near everyone's joints, hence his trademark growling delivery is well known. The question that everyone wants answered is whether or not DMX is just the new flavor of the month, or will his appeal last well beyond his cameo appearances on everyone's songs. Upon listening to his debut album, It's Dark and Hell is Hot, the answer is yes. DMX has more than just some fleeting appeal. Solid beats and consistent flows marks this LP as a keeper. I can't say that DMX has broken some new ground, but he certainly has put it down in such a way that lets you know that he'll be around for a while. One of the things I notice about this album is that this Yonkers, New York native brings forth a universal sound. DMX comes across in a way that you can't really tell where he's from. On some songs, he sounds like he could be from the South. On other tracks, you'd swear he's from Cali. Other songs you hear the East Coast flavor, but you're not quite sure if he's from New York or not. At a time when there's so much regionalism within hip-hop, this type of style is important. It allows DMX to potentially break down barriers and become appealing to all. DavidD.com website. And the favorable reviews continue. The excitement that surrounded DMX when he debuted on LL Cool J's 4321 single was fresh and invigorating. The reason was because there was a lot of buzz that this rapper known as DMX was reminiscent of the late great Tupac Shakur, and that he is the hardest hitting thing to hit the charts in a long time. Well, It's Dark and Hell is Hot does not let down on the hype. DMX is the most intriguing rapper to enter the rap music scene since the notorious B.I.G., and his sound is very similar in tone with Tupac's All Eyes on Me. DMX doesn't really sound like Tupac, but he is just as profound. His hardcore thug attitude is original in its own right, but DMX seems much darker. His music has the sound of a funeral procession. His beats are deep and engrossing, and his storytelling is vivid. Like in the song Damien, DMX plays a thug who is tempted by the devil and finds himself crossing his friends in the end. And finally, after he realizes he can't escape, he envisions the hell he has brought upon himself. Listening to a song on this album is an epic event, as DMX is very dramatically and emotionally on almost every track, and most of it is pretty powerful stuff. There are a few exceptions, but for the most part, DMX is very serious and raps about his pain throughout the album. His anger comes out in the form of one of two DMXs on the album. One is the angry DMX who lashes out violently. The second is a sorrowful and emotional DMX that envisions that his death could come at any moment. This is something that DMX shares with Tupac's, the gravitation to an early grave. The reviewer goes on to write, DMX is also a very gifted rapper. His style is unique, and while he is not blindingly fast, he can pull off the hardcore voice better than anyone. His beats are top-notch, as they are very fitting to his dark tempo sound. How's It Going Down has one of the most slamming beats I've ever heard in a rap song. DMX displays talent on this album that could make him one of rap's legends. Sloppy Joe. DMX had burst on the scene like few rappers have. He had successfully returned from the brink of obscurity with a failed deal at Columbia Records to being the crown jewel in the Def Jam Rough Rider family. DMX had received rave reviews. He was showered with the utmost respect by being sought out by other rappers to make cameos on their projects. Yet the proof was still in the pudding, and in the record business, the pudding is called record sales. Despite the heavy buzz and anticipation, the release of DMX's first solo album was an anxious time for Def Jam and its new Rough Rider label. But as SoundScan, the electronic tracking company which monitors the sales of albums, began to report first week sales, all fears were alleviated. DMX was an instant hit with record buyers. The following story appeared on E! Entertainment Online, the website of the popular cable network, on May 27, 1998. No brand name artist topped the charts this week. Instead, best-selling honors went to one DMX. Who? He's the latest in a long line of underground rappers who seemingly explode out of nowhere onto the charts. His It's Dark and Hell is Hot burst onto the streets with first week sales of 251,000 units according to SoundScan. The public was extremely receptive to the It's Dark and Hell is Hot album, which eventually went on to sell 3 million units, earning a triple platinum plaque from the Recording Industry of American Artists. Many industry insiders expected DMX to dominate the rap scene in the year of 1998, but few expected his first release, Hell is Hot, to top the R&B charts as well, which is exactly what it did. Hell is Hot was the #1 album on Billboard's R&B charts in the summer of 1998. The album debuted on Billboard's album music charts at #1. It was an unprecedented feat for a rapper to debut at #1 with his very first album. It was the fall of 1998. The hip-hop world was abuzz with what was being hailed as the second coming of Tupac Shakur. The hottest video director at the time was Hype Williams. Hype was looking to make the transition from music video director to feature film director. He was working on a gritty street tale that would detail the life of small-time drug dealers hoping to make their fortune on the mean streets of New York City. Belly would mark the acting debut of DMX, who actually began filming Belly before the release of It's Dark and Hell is Hot.
The movie, that was my first movie, my first album, you know what I'm saying? That was a blessing. And but I must say that, you know what I'm saying, it was a pleasure to work with Nas and Math, you know what I'm saying, and actually everybody that I work with on that set, you know what I'm saying? But Nas, to this day, it's like, me and Nas is like this, man. That's my dog for life. Matter of fact, I want to give him a shout out. And I told him this, I seen him, I don't go to concerts, I don't watch other people perform. I do me. But I went to his show out here at the House of Blues.
Right.
And I told him after the show, because, you know, for a minute, you know, I'm getting into the CEO end of it, you know what I'm saying, the acting. I'm like, you know, how much longer do I want to rap? But he reminded me that that's what I started with and that's what I should continue with.
Always,
you know what I'm saying?
always.
He re-inspired me to do this again, man, because, I mean, you know, truthfully speaking, I lost a lot of love for it. Because a lot of the bullshit that comes with it, you giving your heart, you know what I'm saying? You put your soul on paper, on wax, whatever. And these cocksucking motherfuckers in the industry, they're just stealing it. You know what I'm saying? Only they stealing your soul, you know what I'm saying? Rather than I have them steal my whole soul, I walk away. But he showed me a way around that, man, and I want to thank him for that, man.
Nas, one mic.
It was thought in many circles that the film producers were too quick to take advantage of DMX's incredible popularity. With the album It's Dark quickly pushing towards the multi-million unit mark and holding strong at #1 on Billboard's album charts, Def Jam Rough Riders had now become a major force in hip-hop music. In an unprecedented move, it was determined that DMX would release a second album before the end of the year to take advantage of his phenomenal success. With the movie Belly set to make its debut in the fall of 1999 and his current album, burning up the charts, and his second album in the works, one would get the idea that DMX wouldn't have time for much else. If one were to think that, though, one would be wrong. DMX had always had his problems with law enforcement, a byproduct of his tough upbringing in the projects, first in Baltimore and later in Yonkers. But his excuse back then was his struggle for survival. With a top-selling rap album on the charts and a budding movie career just beginning, DMX was far from struggling. Yet on June 17, 1998, just weeks after his debut album came out of nowhere to top the music charts, authorities booked DMX on charges of rape, sodomy, and unlawful imprisonment, alleging the rapper met a stripper at a club and invited her to a friend's apartment in the Bronx for a private show. The charges and subsequent publicity, according to representatives of the rapper, hurt sales of what had started out as an explosive debut. DMX's lawyer, Matt Middleton, said it is hard to erase the stain left by the arrest of Simmons. He was immediately negatively portrayed and his lyrics were critically analyzed. He didn't have a chance. Lyre Cohen, chief executive officer of Def Jam Recording Group, said radio stations and video stores had refused to display Simmons' music prominently after the charges were filed. Cohen said Simmons' album had sold 1.5 million copies and was projected to reach between 3 and 5 million in sales, further boosting the career of a man compared to the late rapper Tupac Shakur. He's still an outlaw, the most renegade artist right now in the music business, Cohen said. With a possible rape case over his head and a #1 album to deal with, on April 28, 1999, DMX apparently going home after a date with his wife, Tashira Simmons, when according to the rapper, a man named Norman Brown attacked Tashira. Court records say that DMX physically attacked Brown while Brown was seated in his vehicle. Then Brown fled on foot into a nearby building where DMX continued to rough him up. He was arrested on assault charges in New York City on the following Friday. During his court appearance, lawyers for DMX were informed that a routine search yielded an outstanding arrest warrant in Colorado for the rapper stemming from a stabbing attack following a charity concert in Denver. That incident purportedly occurred April 28th following a DMX Jay-Z benefit concert for families of the Columbine High School massacre. Reports were that during an after-party, DMX was taunted by another man. Prior to those two incidents, DMX still found himself facing charges of rape. Despite phenomenal out-of-the-box success in 1998, it wasn't shaping up to be a particularly good year for DMX. He had run afoul of the law in Denver, New York, and was accused of rape. He had the added pressure of trying to follow up It's Dark and Hell is Hot with another album release in the same year as his first. Legal problems aside, DMX was able to finish and release his second album in the fall of 1998. Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood was released to much fanfare, complete with a disturbing cover in which DMX is covered in blood. He later explained that the blood on the cover was meant to symbolize the killings that he had witnessed in his young life. There was still an overwhelming amount of hype surrounding DMX, not to mention a second #1 debut on Billboard's hip-hop music charts, earning DMX the distinction of being the only artist in the history of hip-hop music to have two #1 debuts on the charts in the same year. The album was an instant hit with fans as they gobbled up 650,000 albums in the first week of its release. Flesh was certified 2 times platinum by the end of the month and topped the Billboard 200 album charts for 3 straight weeks. And even more astounding, the album remained in the #1 position on the R&B charts for 4 weeks, besting his first album's reign by 2 weeks. And don't think It's Dark and Hell is Hot wasn't selling as well. It was. And a month later, that album received certification for selling 3 million units. 2 #1 albums on the charts in 1998, a popular and anticipated movie in Belly under his belt, and nothing but promise and a bright career ahead. But DMX was more than happy to see 1998 in the rearview mirror.
We gonna remember what songs was out. We gonna remember what dances niggas was doing. We gonna remember a whole bunch of shit on the strength of what we had on and where we was at and what we was doing.
Right.
You know, I mean, it goes down, dog. It goes down. Walk with me. Look at my life. Look at how I live. Look at what I go through. What I give to you. This is it. Look at my life.
As the ball was dropped in New York City, ringing in the new year, a year that was as uncertain for the former Earl Simmons as his tumultuous upbringing on the mean streets of Yonkers, New York. As DMX awaited his pending trial for assault, he got the bad news that he was wanted in an ongoing investigation of a stabbing following a benefit concert in Denver, Colorado. Yet while the bad news seemed to be coming in buckets, a ray of hope was shining through. On August 19, 1998, the following story appears in papers across the country. Thanks to DNA, rapper DMX has been cleared of rape. New York authorities dropped rape and sodomy charges against the 27-year-old artist Thursday after tests proved it was not his semen on the accuser, a 29-year-old erotic dancer.
Thank you, God. Amen.
Amen.
Earl Simmons.
It's written.
DMX was quoted as saying he never met the girl outside of the courthouse. It was a rare moment of unadulterated success for DMX. The rapper's personal life has been as dicey as his professional one. He has a police rap sheet dating back to 1998. Charges were dropped for a lack of evidence in both the Denver stabbing case as well as the New York assault case. Add that to the negative DNA test from the rape case, and DMX was actually looking at a better 1999 than he was just a few months earlier. At least it seemed that way. In June of '99, police went to the Teaneck, New Jersey home of DMX, Tashira, and their 6-year-old son after police found Tashira's purse near the spot where X's business manager had been shot at the Fort Lee Hilton. The business manager, who was also Earl Simmons' uncle, was wounded in the foot. The shooting remains unsolved. At the house, Tashira's mother told detectives that DMX had been smoking crack cocaine all week, and he had pulled out a gun in front of her. A search revealed a loaded 9mm pistol in a dresser drawer, a hollow-nosed bullet and a high-capacity mag, and 6 used glass cocaine smoking pipes in a bedroom vanity. Authorities also found 13 pit bulls in the house, the couple's son, and a 15-year-old cousin in the house, prompting child endangerment charges. DMX, who had just dodged 3 serious cases, had caught another one. And it didn't stop there. In August of '99, DMX and 3 others were arrested in Yonkers with 6 loaded guns, ammunition, and a small amount of drugs in a black Chevrolet Suburban. He was arrested a few days later after he was found driving without a license in Mount Kisco, New York. With cases pending, DMX, hotter than ever, went on tour. It was the summer of 1999, and DMX was edging closer to selling 10 million albums in a span of less than 2 years. He received the Blockbuster Music Award as the favorite new artist. He had at this point been a marked man facing numerous run-ins with the law. Luck up until this point had been on his side. With a sealed juvenile record and dismissals of dropped charges on his adult record, DMX had to consider himself the Teflon Don of rap music. In July, he and his crew headed to Port of Spain, Trinidad. Despite a myriad of legal problems, Flesh of My Flesh was burning up the album charts and selling hundreds of thousands of units per week. DMX had been nominated for 2 Grammys, Album of the Year for Hell Is Hot, and 1 for the Best Rapper. The Source magazine, which had introduced the Yonkers rapper to audiences 10 years earlier by awarding him its unsigned Hype Award, named him as the top artist of the year as well as solo and live performer of the year at the annual Source Hip Hop Awards music show. DMX's acting career had begun to blossom as well. Belly was receiving rave reviews, and his performance as Tommy Brown, the gangster ghetto president opposite fellow New York rapper Nas, was making Hollywood take notice. Yet the film's violent themes weren't lost on critics who couldn't help but draw comparisons to the real-life exploits of the former Yonkers School Street Projects resident. DMX spoke about the themes of the film. There's a difference between violence and senseless violence. This is not a movie about a serial killer just going around killing for no reason. For every act of violence, there's a reason behind it, and you can see why. Okay, that's why he shot this person for this reason. Okay, he had to do that because of this. It's not just killing for no reason.
Let me tell you something, D. What I know how to do is be motherfucking famous. I know how to do that. I'm a businessman. See, these young ass cats, they don't know how hard you really gotta work to make money. You gotta make money a long fucking time to be rich.
Yeah.
You can't make money one motherfucker.
Because you spend it at a higher rate because of your lifestyle, you know what I mean?
And because you ain't never had nothing.
Exactly.
That first money, you gotta buy all the shit you done missed. Then you don't pay taxes cause shit, you don't know nothing about that. So your second year, you gotta pay the motherfucking tax, man. This year and last year. I know the store out there just like that. Nigga, half. I'm like, he ain't know nothing. Uncle Sam is not on that motherfucking set with me, man. You know what I mean? Ain't been to one rehearsal.
None. Those are lock
Uncle Sam ain't never been booed
up all the time. That's what they do to me.
The bitch ain't never, he's never been booed. See, until you get on stage and been the fuck booed, you don't know what that's like. I've been booed. That shit hurt a long time ago, but shit.
I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
That's scary. I probably done that.
You don't need that.
Yeah.
You on another tip.
And one time I walked right off the stage, like there was still some more stage there. I had about 12 shots in 10 minutes of tequila. Got to the show, straight there. Got to the show and walked right off the stage in the middle of the song. Bit a hole through my lip, fucked my hip up and my arm. Still in between the speakers.
Ain't done that since.
No.
You ain't done that
I
either.
thought everybody was gonna die
You ain't
laughing
been
though.
moved, you ain't fell off
It
the
was like quiet. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I mean, it don't feel good. I was like, I know if I'd have been watching, I saw they could just walk up the stage like it was still the ground there. I'd have been laughing. You know what I'm
They
saying?
had to come get you.
Yeah. But it was that, you know, it turned out to be all right.
Dark Prince had done quite well for himself, and on the eve of his concert in Trinidad, hopes were high that the worst of the DMX's legal problems were behind him. But as DMX edged towards the middle of his set, police in this conservative former British colony stormed the stage, arresting the 28-year-old rapper for using obscenities in a public misdemeanor offense in Trinidad. Police fired their guns in the air to control the huge crowd as concertgoers hurled bottles and other objects at the stage. It was unclear what obscenities were used that got the Yonkers rapper arrested, but when the smoke cleared, DMX had been in jail for a weekend, and his first conviction as an adult wasn't for gun charges or robbery or drug possession. Of all the crimes that he had been accused of, had pending trials over, but for yelling obscenities in public. An almost laughable charge for a rapper. In a twist of irony, fellow New York rapper Inga Smith, who goes by the rap name of Foxy Brown, was escorted off stage in a similar manner only 1 month earlier for the exact same crime, yet no charges were brought in that incident.
I want to say I'm a vampire. I don't know.
I
What
wouldn't
comes
say
with
that. Don't
you know,
start
but,
on rumors. Yeah.
You know, yeah, man. I'm definitely a night hawk.
Okay,
Or
like
an owl,
a night owl.
you know?
Then let's do it like that.
Yeah. For normal people, this is like 7, 8 in the evening. You know what I mean? When you know, motherfuckers are like work 9 to 5 and shit. It's like that time of the day.
You gotta get Dave on that, man.
For me.
So it's reverse for you.
Yeah.
Learn something new every day, man.
Yeah. I think I said it right.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
cool.
know.
You keep your black book with you all the time.
Yeah. Oh, actually, it's blue. But yeah, I keep a book. I keep a book with me at all times. I got a few of them that I write. You know what I'm saying? I don't write on pads and shit like that. I write on a couple pieces of paper, put in my pocket, and put in my book. You know?
All your rhymes like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Incident. Back on home turf, after a disastrous trip to Trinidad, DMX was facing more legal problems. A New Jersey judge decided to allow the popular rapper to produce public service announcements telling children to stay away from guns and to be kind to animals under the terms of a plea bargain with Bergen County authorities. It was an agreement that would allow DMX to avoid jail time for 13 counts of animal cruelty, 2 counts of maintaining a nuisance, and 1 count each of disorderly conduct and possession of drug paraphernalia. The charges of gun possession and child endangerment, as well as all charges against his wife Tashira, were dropped. DMX had demonstrated a unique ability to balance releasing albums, making movies, and battling law enforcement. He would again be tested in 1999. With all that was happening, DMX managed to record and release another album in the fall of that year. And Then There Was X would become the most acclaimed and critically praised, not to mention most commercially successful album that DMX would release to this point. DMX had solidified his place as the rawest and most dynamic new voice in rap since the late Tupac Shakur. He was awarded the Billboard Music Award for R&B Album of the Year for Flesh of My Blood as he prepared to release his 3rd album. As the world celebrated a new millennium for DMX, it was business as usual. Court cases and platinum album releases, a movie appearance, and skyrocketing commercial and critical success were what was expected of him by his fans and critics alike. He wasn't about to disappoint. After collecting an American Music Award for Favorite Hip-Hop Artist for his Flesh of My Blood album, DMX released his 3rd album, And Then There Was X. First week sales of the album were 600,000 units. As had been standard practice, would seem routine by this point, the album debuted exactly where his previous 2 albums had, #1 on Billboard's album charts. Yet unlike DMX's earlier 2 releases, And Then There Was X, wasn't going to take months to go platinum. It would only take a couple of weeks. In fact, in what must have been some type of record, And Then There Was X was certified triple platinum by the end of the first month it was released.
See, he ain't knowing. This is
Right
my
here.
black book right here to get me through the hard times. 2000, y'all gonna make me lose my mind. The anthem of my life, and I was making mad dollars, all right? DMX represent.
Let me say that again. Less than 4 weeks after the album reached the stores, it had gone triple platinum, selling 3 million units. As can be expected, DMX, with his enormous popularity, was the target of anyone and everyone who had a beef or an axe to grind. And in February of 2000, the animal protection group, the Humane Society, publicly denounced DMX for glorifying dog fighting in his video, What's My Name? The video didn't actually show any dog fighting, but it did portray pit bulls growling at each other. The protest was minor compared to what was about to come. As DMX embarked on his 3rd album release, And Then There Was X, the awards for his Flesh of My Blood album continued to pour in. Soul Train, the popular weekend dance show, awarded DMX the award for the best R&B, soul, or rap album for Flesh. He also was honored with the Sammy Davis Jr. Award by Soul Train. In March, DMX was again in trouble with the law as he was pulled over in New York for speeding. Police say he had no valid driver's license and marijuana was found in his possession. DMX had released a successful 3rd album. He had drawn fire from animal rights groups and had his obligatory run-in with the law. The only thing that remained was for him to star in another movie. And like clockwork, that was about to happen. DMX was ready to take his place as a bona fide box office draw, as he starred opposite martial arts expert Jet Li and the late R&B singer Aaliyah in the action film Romeo Must Die. DMX was also headlining the soundtrack. The film was an instant box office hit, proving that DMX was indeed a major film draw. Critics were impressed by his portrayal of a gang leader in Belly, but the role wasn't really more than the early life of Earl Simmons from Yonkers. His role in Romeo Must Die was much more of a stretch, and it showed that DMX was a multi-dimensional performer who no doubt could catch the eye of the major studios.
Well, he had a small role in Romeo Must Die that was very effective. The audience was extremely impressed by him, and we felt, let's expand him to another movie. And this was a good idea, and also I liked the idea of blending the hip-hop and the martial arts, you know, in which we worked so well in Romeo. So we said, let's take it a step further. And it's an urban movie, but you know, Romeo worked everywhere, and I think the same thing will happen here.
Riding the coattails of the success of Romeo Must Die, DMX's 3rd album, And Then There Was X, was certified triple platinum. DMX turned himself into New York authorities for missing a court appearance in March of 2000. While he was being booked and processed, authorities say they found marijuana in his possession again, and more charges were added. DMX had had a number of singles hit the top of the charts, but he was finding that his mega hit was with the club anthem Party Up, Up in Here. The catchy tune, whose hook is Y'all Gonna Make Me Lose My Mind, Up in Here, was the first single to crack the top 40 charts. This is significant because though DMX had received major acclaim in rap and surprisingly R&B circles, the top 40 is Britney Spears and NSYNC territory. Few rappers other than Eminem have even come close to dominating there. DMX also was still receiving praise for his role as Tommy Brown, the drug-dealing gang lord in the slickly produced Hype Williams film Belly. It was about this time that action superstar Steven Seagal was looking for an African-American liaison to the black community. He sought out the acting talents of DMX for a film that would star Seagal and co-star X as an undercover police officer posing as a drug dealer and a thief. Exit Wounds would be by far the most challenging role that DMX would ever play. He explained the contrast between that film and his role in Belly. To get ready for my role in Belly, I had to drink a bottle of Hennessy every day during the shoot. Exit Wounds was like martial arts, fight choreography boot camp. DMX. Exit Wounds would go on to gross over $50 million in the United States. DMX also received praise from his small role in Romeo Must Die, also a huge box office success.
He's incredible. He has such intensity, such force, such power. He's a natural, and he really is great. I want to work with him forever, and I think he has great talent. I think the audience is going to be really impressed seeing him in this picture.
By the end of 2000, DMX had established himself as one of the world's finest rappers, a bona fide box office draw, and a tour de force in hip-hop circles. There was only one little problem. DMX couldn't stay out of trouble with the law. In March of 2000, after DMX had turned himself in for missing a court date for a traffic violation and facing added charges for possession of marijuana, which was found on his person during his booking of the other charges, he was also facing additional weapons and drug possession charges a month later when a federal indictment was handed down in New York City. As the album And Then There Was X was being certified 4 times platinum, and his Party Up in Here single was being nominated for an MTV Video Music Award, and a second single, What You Want, featuring Cisco, rested on top of the MTV charts, DMX was locked in a battle for not only hip-hop prominence, but for his freedom, as his legal troubles had come to a head. As the year ended, the Flesh of My Flesh album was certified 3 times platinum. It's Dark and Hell Is Hot was 4 times platinum. DMX, also about this time, began to write down the events of his life for his memoirs to be published the following summer. He was nominated again for an American Music Award as the favorite rap and hip-hop artist. Meanwhile, a judge in New York ordered DMX to serve a 15-day jail sentence for his assault conviction and marijuana possession. By February of 2001, the album And Then There Was X was now 5 times platinum. X received 2 Grammy nominations for Best Rap Solo Performance for Party Up in Here and the Best Rap Album for And Then There Was X. DMX turned himself in to New York authorities later that same month to serve out his 15-day sentence. While DMX was serving his sentence, the film Exit Wound was released to mixed reviews, but audiences loved it. The Steven Seagal DMX star was the #1 film, topping the nation's box office in its first week of release. DMX was released from custody in New York, but a few months later he would be right back in trouble after he was indicted by the state of New York for failing to serve jail time for his traffic conviction. The film Exit Wounds was doing very well at the box office, driven in part by a powerful soundtrack album headlined by DMX. With the single No Sunshine, No Sunshine was nominated for MTV Video Music Award as Best Video from a Feature Film. It served as the perfect prelude to the release of the 4th DMX album. In October of 2001, DMX released his 4th album, The Great Depression. The Great Depression didn't accurately describe an album with as many raw and playful party songs on it, as well as thought-out serious commentaries on social ills facing inner-city youth. The most notable track was a title called Who We Be, which topped the MTV Top 20 Video Countdown, and another track titled I Miss You, featuring bad boy recording artist Faith Evans, and is dedicated to DMX's grandmother. The Great Depression, as had his previous 3 albums, topped the Billboard album charts for the first week it was released. The album sold only 439,000 units in its first week out the box, making it the least best-selling first-week album by DMX. But by the end of the month, things had picked up, and by December, The Great Depression was certified platinum. DMX was nominated for a Grammy and 2 MTV Video Music Awards for Who We Be, and he recorded a public service announcement as part of his commitment to do public service for his animal cruelty service. 2002 was a relatively quiet year for DMX, no major arrests, and the 4 albums that he had out continued to sell nicely. The Great Depression yielded 1 hit in Who We Be, and the film Exit Wound was doing well. DMX began work on another film, reuniting him with Romeo Must Die star Jet Li. This film was called Cradle to the Grave. The film would mean another starring role for DMX, who was so enamored with acting by this time that he began to produce his own films. His company, called Bloodline Films, this in addition to his own record label, again a reference to DMX's love of pit bulls, called Bloodline Records. DMX, while no longer having to rob and steal to survive, doesn't live an extravagant lifestyle. He keeps his life simple, choosing to live in the suburbs of New Jersey with his wife and son as far away from the limelight as possible. While in Los Angeles, he can be found at his favorite hobby shop, indulging in his fascination with remote-controlled toys. It's one of the ways X passes his time in between takes. The movie Cradle to the Grave opened well in its first week, and DMX is set to release Never Die Alone, which will be the first film from his own production company, Bloodline Films. He is currently working on his 5th album. It's been a while since he's had any run-ins with the law. It's been a long and winding road for Earl Simmons, the road that continues to lead the former Yonkers resident to new and exciting venues in his journey to hip-hop immortality. He's gone from being compared to Tupac to establishing an identity of his own. What the future holds for DMX, only God knows. But what he's accomplished in his brief time in our presence is the stuff of legend. I'm Theron Cal.
On the highway, there's a ramp right there, so we walk up the ramp, I flag somebody down. This is before he had a song or anything. I flag this girl down. She gave us a ride. Me, him, like, oh, and Memphis Bleak, and one other person. So the girl gave us a ride, I jumped in the front seat, and they all in the back. She telling me, you know, how much she love my music, how much she appreciate my work. She's like, yo, what's up with the nigga that sound like you? I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. There's him right there in the back seat, you know what I mean? And I looked at this nigga, man, and it looked like he aged about 20 years. He had like a real stressful look, like he knew it, but he never thought the time would come when somebody would say it in front of him with me there. You know what I mean? Shit happens, you know what I'm saying?
Welcome to LA, homie.
Thank you, man. Thank you,
man. Look at this boy right here. See that? That's the realness. Rough Rider. What's up with you, man? What's up with this new movie, man?
I'm working on a movie. I've been out here since January, man. You know what I'm saying? And you know, we got about a week and a half left. We're at the shooting. I'm just looking forward to going home. You know, finish. You know, my wife had a baby. Like,
that's right. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day to you too, man.
My son was born yesterday.
Exactly.
That's the new beginning.
We got babies on the same week.
Same month, baby.
Same week.
Dmx, same week, baby. I am so proud to know you, homie.
Thank
My
you, man.
people saying you good people. The one thing that tripped me out about you playing with $2,000 helicopters, airplanes.
Oh yeah.
Boy, how long you been doing that, man?
About 8 months.
You liking it?
I love it, man. You know what I'm saying? It allows me to just get into myself and block everything out, man. And you know what I'm saying? When I'm playing with my toys, it's like I'm a little kid all over again. And I think we all, as adults, need to find the kid in ourselves. You know what I'm saying? To keep going.
Do you see yourself as a role model?
Well, I'm a role model whether I want to be or not, just because I'm in the public's eye. Do I see myself as a positive role model? I think so. Okay. But once again, my personal life is my personal life, and what I do on my own time is my business. Even though a lot of people may see that, it's still my business.
His business, baby. That's real. As I was listening to Damien, I was listening to, I believe it was one of these tracks on this one right here, about this shorty that you put on the set, and then he changed on you. You had to go put him down.
Here we go again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
I mean, that's real talk right there. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, sometimes you you snatch a little nigga up, you know what I'm saying, trying to show him the right thing. But he, you know, he just go up on his own, and you know, it's like, all right, shorty, well, I taught you as much as I can teach you. I taught you as much as I see you want to learn, so now I gotta let you go. You know what I mean?
All right.
So it hurts, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
You put down Eve, the first lady of Rough Riders, and I'm feeling her. I took a picture with her, and I'm devastated by her. What's up with her? When y'all gonna do something?
We always do something, dog. We always, every album, every joint. That's my people's right there.
That's right.
I mean, I bought her the Rough Riders. You know what I'm saying? I met her out here. Even though she's from Philly, I met her out here. Brought her to my mans and them. You know what I'm saying? And everything. Ever since then, it's been gravy. But what's most special about that is the fact that we still have the same relationship we had when I first met her.
She's still cool, level-headed.
Loyalty there between us.
That's
it's like
word,
she know I ain't gonna tell her nothing wrong. She don't change. You know what I'm saying? She don't change. I don't change, and we communicate. Dog, I'm working right now, man. I feel you, but I'm working right now. Okay.
Till we die.
Keep it coming. Keep it coming.
Till we die. Till we die.
Let me hit.
You know on my way, but walk with me. See what I see, then watch me, then talk with me. Share my pain, make it a little easier to deal with. Despite all the fame in you, I'ma keep it real.
That's what's up right there, man.
That's a DMX interview.
That's what's up right there, man.
You gon' get. I'm feeling this man right here. I want to floss this New York ID on you, homie. I've been there.
Okay.
There, all right.
You know what's some funny shit? I'm gonna show you something right now.
All right.
This gonna fuck you up right now.
All right.
This gonna fuck you up.
All right.
You got the New York. I got the Cali. How did that happen?
New York and Cali. DMX, baby. You can't get
he in Cali and I'm from New York.
That's right. That's how we doing it, baby. That's how we doing it. Now, yo.
Niggas be tripping over these girls, man. It's like, yo, man, if she gonna go out and hit my man off, then that's not your girl.
That's right.
Leave it alone. Don't be pressed over these hoes, man.
That's right.
Somebody tell somebody that, dog, because I mean, you know, I'm married, man. You know what I mean? And I love mine, man.
Married. Me
3
too,
kids. You know what I mean? I'm good. But you know, these niggas be tripping over these hoes. If she gon' go, let it go. If you love something, let it go.
And if it was meant to be,
if it come back, it's yours.
It's meant to be.
Now, if it come back with another pinner, then it ain't yours.
I don't want to be on TV.
First out the gate, Bloodline Records, right here. This drag baby mama.
What time it is?
This drag baby mama.
This drag baby mama.
When Shorty gets fucking busy.
Yeah.
What? No, I'm telling you. When I'm in, stamp is strong, cause the camp is strong. Bloodline, motherfucker. Cast is flowing.
Oh,
Official shit right here, man. Official shit right here. This is where it
down in
starts
the
at.
street right here.
That's right. Where it starts at.
I'm coming for y'all. Coming for y'all.
Bloodline, baby.
Whoever. Brooklyn, what? New York. Brooklyn. I'm from Brooklyn, man.
All right.
I can't say nothing else.
That's
New York,
real
you know.
shit.
Moms, pops, how are you?
What is it like being in LA?
It's kind of boring, I ain't gonna lie.
All right.
It's not like New York, you know what I'm saying? New York, I could get in with my Timbs, my wife beater, my, you know what I'm saying? I just can't wear no rags, but I'm trying to freak them and make them think this is shoes. You know what I'm saying?
Women are good with anything out here. Oh man, you could walk in with a t-shirt and a fucking, what do you call them, slippers? With the, who? Flip flops, you know.
Alright.
Yeah, we gotta throw a party.
But see, you know what? It's bigger than me throwing a party. I gotta actually like own the club. Because you always got the one guy that's like, hey, this is my spot. None of that in here.
No. On the club then.
That's what's up.
Own the club, throw your own shit.
That's what's up.
And then
Run
you
your
do
own
it
bar.
New York style, alright?
That's what's up.
For sure. 24 hours, alright?
Yeah.
Alright?
24 hours.
PK.
No windows.
I heard them new joints.
Some motherfuckers don't know what time it is. Oh yeah. Yo,
Wow.
what? Man,
Yo, you sobering up. That's what it is.
No.
That's
Or you
going.
got blacked the fuck out even
So I was
more.
super blacked out when I did them joints.
I'm gonna black out one of them shits.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, it's gone.
I want you to. I want you to.
What? I can't even find her strazy. Straight crazy. They strazy. Straight crazy.
Straight
What?
straight
Them
crazy.
shits is strazy, dog.
That's what's up.
Yeah,
Like that.
that's a new one. We gotta,
like that.
we gotta put that in the gone now.
Copyright that.
Them niggas is crazy.
Put it on Asia's file.
Straight crazy. What?
This is strazy, straight crazy.
Well, you know, I've been in the bathroom with the pen coming up with shit. Like donkey hanging. That's my new shit too. Donkey hanging.
Oh yeah, I heard that joint. Yeah, that's crazy.
You ready?
Like when he holding,
All right.
donkey hanging.
Next spot.
Where y'all going?
Crib.